Because future-looking statements are inherently subject to risk and uncertainty, our reminder is that you should make any purchasing decisions or investment decisions based on products and services that are currently commercially available. Enjoy the show.
Welcome, everybody. My name is Ryan Lanigan. I'm a solutions engineer at Tableau. And today we're going to be talking about data transformation and governance at Bouygues Telecom. We're going to start off by talking about something that maybe you experienced. I know I did, and all my brothers did, was when we ever had guests over to the house, my mom would come and absolutely yell at us all to clean up the whole house. Everything had to be cleaned, deep scrubbed. And as a result, one of my peers at Tableau and Salesforce talked about this idea of the good room. It's a room that you never went into. It was always clean, always ready to host anyone who came and visited. And when we talk about analytics, and particularly self-service analytics systems, they're very complex. There's a lot that goes on from source to consumption. There's a lot of movement, a lot of teams, a lot of individuals. And when we specifically start to think about how we can make analytics more self-service, we think about three unique individual moments. How do we get access to our business assets? How are we going to collaborate and discover new insights? And finally, how can we enhance without having to go through any technical bottlenecks back to our technical teams? And so in that same sense of having that perfectly clean room, that ideal room that my mom always dreamed about growing up, we want to have a clean system. We don't want to have big overhauls as we go through our transformation and growth as a company. And so today I have a very special guest, Margot, who's joining us. She works at Bouygues Telecom, and she is an absolute Tableau superstar, has a double master's in both management and quantitative economics, prior experience at a variety of different companies. And if you want to go and check out her Tableau public profile, we've got the tiny URL, Margot Marché Maurice. Margot, bonjour, welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Ryan, for having me today.
So, Margot, today we're going to talk about your experience in helping clean up the data in the Tableau analytics. And so, how did you get looped into this whole project, and how did you get involved?
Yes, so basically, when I joined my business unit at Bouygues Telecom in 2020, as a newcomer, I faced some difficulties to understand the existing dashboards. And I faced four main difficulties. First, because telecom sector was a new industry to me, I didn't know all the acronyms and technical vocabulary. But first and foremost, in my business unit, there were more than 250 dashboards. That's a lot. And many were duplicate or overlapping. So it could be quite confusing when you were looking for specific information. And as a newcomer also, there was a limited documentation for self-service. So it meant that you couldn't really figure out by yourself what are the main KPIs, where are they, how are they computed, for whom, etc. So that was the last difficulty. And as a data analyst also, the access rights were quite difficult to maintain over time in my business unit, in the sense that when you had to add new viewers in the list of authorized viewers, you had to do it manually. So it was a bit painful. And all these challenges were quite important. So I shared this feedback with my lead and several internal clients from different profiles, such as managers, operational teams. And actually, they shared my vision and my difficulties. So that's how I started the project. I was assigned to facilitate the understanding and the access to the existing dashboards in my business unit a few weeks after starting my job at Bouygues Telecom.
Yeah, I can imagine that quite a few of our audience members here have the same issue. So when you were first planning this all out, how did you approach it, and what were some of the main criteria?
So I had three main goals in mind. First, reducing the number of dashboards to really help my clients to find the right information, find only the most useful KPIs and the most relevant ones. My second goal was really to up-level stakeholder understanding, in the sense that I wanted to provide better documentation to really foster trust in the KPIs and foster adoption. And finally, regarding the access rights that were managed manually, my goal was really to automate to save time. So these were the three main goals. And to achieve them, I involved a lot of various stakeholders, such as my lead, some internal clients, Tableau centralized team, of course, my data analyst in my team, so that everyone is aligned on this project and can share any feedback on my methodology.
So the methodology, do you mind walking us through some of the stages and key points that you focused on?
Yes, of course. So it was quite a big project. So it was decomposed in four main parts. The first part was about understanding and confirming the main pain points with the stakeholders. The second was about cleaning the server, so server management. First step was about building a new organizational system. And finally, preparing the transition. So in the first step, to confirm the existing problems with the direct users, I did a dozen interviews with internal clients to really understand their problems and the ideal solutions they would want to have implemented in Tableau. For the second step, about cleaning the server, I did several actions. First, archiving the redundant dashboards. The second was about archiving the obsolete dashboards, so the ones that were not used for the past 6 months. And finally, to provide documentation by adding descriptions and keywords to the dashboards that were remaining. And using those descriptions, I could finally prepare a better structure, better organization on Tableau server. So I could create a new tree structure that has only 2 levels of hierarchy and that is organized by main topic and subtopic. And for that tree structure, I created some access rights map as well as some new user groups to really focus on who can view what based on the identity of a user. And finally, because it's quite a change in habits for my end users, for my clients, I did some user tests, of course, with people from different departments holding different Tableau licenses. And of course, I prepared the change by sharing extensive documentation to really prepare my clients to the change. So beginning and end of this project was with the end users in mind.
Yeah, this whole project seems like quite the undertaking. How long did it take from start to finish?
It was quite a long project, and it was not full-time because it was quite complex, but I would say 5 months. So that's about the very beginning to the very end.
Okay. And who was on your team as you worked through these projects? Did you have other
So
individuals?
the stakeholders were really my data analyst team, as well as Tableau centralized team, to really provide us, for instance, examples on how can we identify the obsolete dashboards. And of course, my internal clients were really part of the project because you cannot do anything without their feedback so that everyone is aligned. So these were the main stakeholders in this project.
Okay. So we have a few screenshots from some of the work you actually went through. Can you tell us about how you decided on the way you archived obsolete dashboards?
Yes, of course. So basically, at Bouygues Telecom, there is a centralized Tableau team that provides us a quality matrix. This quality matrix gives us very useful indicators for each dashboard from all business units at Bouygues Telecom. And these indicators are about when was the last time the dashboard was viewed, how many data sources are connected to this dashboard, is it too much? What's the weight, the size of the dashboard? Is it too big? What's the refreshing time of data sources that are associated to each dashboard? So you have these kind of indicators. And for my use case, I used the indicator about when was the last time the dashboard was viewed. So if this last time was more than 6 months ago, it means that this dashboard is not relevant. So we should archive it. So that's how I proceeded. Of course, you must have some feedback from your internal clients because you can have some false positives and false negatives, but this is how I could identify the list.
Yeah. So is it important to look at this in a few different ways. When it was last viewed, the total number of views, as well as how frequently or how many individuals are taking a look at these dashboards. And I absolutely love the use of the KPIs and little iconography in there. The second thing was you mentioned that you merged a lot of duplicate dashboards. How did you end up in a space where you had all this duplicate work?
So basically, just to give some context, my business unit works a lot with external partners. So it means that these external partners sometimes are competitors between themselves. So we used to create one dashboard per external partner, but this is not really efficient. So this created lots of duplicates, and to really merge everything together, so we created only one dashboard that is accessible by all external partners. But with the use of Tableau user filters, we could implement row-level security as well as information confidentiality. So that helped us first to really maintain the confidentiality of information and also reduce the duplicates dashboard. So that was a really, really great tool for these dashboards that were about the performance of external partners.
Yeah, I can imagine that the process of having to actually build these dashboards and update them is going to be much more accelerated when you only have one place to change. And so you also mentioned you were including a lot more documentation. What was included and what were the things that people were asking for?
Basically, with the great help of my fellow data analysts in my team, for each dashboard, we created descriptions. So in those descriptions, what we actually wrote were, what is this dashboard about? What are the main KPIs in it? Who uses it? Who created the dashboard? And what are the most relevant keywords that best describe the dashboard? So when you hover each dashboard now in our tree structure, you have this kind of display of information. And it's like a book. You don't have to open the dashboard and navigate between the different views to understand what it is about. You just have the back cover, and it's much more efficient when you don't know what is inside a dashboard. So that helped a lot. And also one great benefit is that it fuels Tableau search engine. So when clients are using the search bar and they type some certain keyword, Tableau uses also the descriptions that we wrote to provide better results. So that's great.
Yeah, and that's going to help quite a bit with the search engine. But you keep mentioning the tree structure that you had pulled up. So in discussing this, you mentioned that, and something that jumped out to me that I thought was really fantastic was you actually had a parent folder for each of your customer kind of stages and life cycles. But can you tell us what was the driving factor in how you reorganized and restructured here?
Yeah, so before, our tree structure was kind of messy, and it had lots of different levels. So the advantages of this new tree structure is that it is organized with only 2 levels of hierarchy, so that it's very easy to navigate and have a quick quick access to the insights. And it's really organized by topic and subtopic. So the orange folders are really about our teams in my business unit, such as like the activation team, the after-sales service team, transversal topics that both involve the activation and after-sales service team. And you have also some folders like which really make a separation between official dashboards and non-official dashboards, so that clients don't take unofficial figures for their presentations. And we have also a folder dedicated to data analysts about data sources, archives, and so on. So that's the first level. And indeed, as you mentioned, in the blue subfolders, it kind of follows the customer life cycle as described in our org chart. And one thing to notice is that the first subfolder of the main folders is about cockpit for managers. Managers don't have to go around and look at different subfolders. Everything is in the first subfolder. So cockpit for managers in the activation team and in the after-sales service team. And it's also very easy for newcomers because every essential dashboard, every essential KPI is in this subfolder. So you don't have to look for essential KPIs anywhere. It's in this subfolder. And if you have a specific question or a topic in mind, you can go to other subfolders based on the title of these subfolders.
Yeah, and this does follow quite a bit of best practices we've seen at other industries, specifically having a sandbox or a pre-production folder where your analysts can work and then moving it to your production certified content. So you've done a lot of work. It's been about 5 months. What are you going to be implementing and what are you working on as a next step?
Yes, as you mentioned, it lasted 5 months, but actually it's never ending. And we try to improve our processes every day. And here you have a screenshot of what we are currently working on. So it's about creating trend alertings when we want to identify obsolete dashboards. So as I mentioned, we have a quality matrix at Bouygues Telecom that provides really a photo at a certain time, certain point of time. What is obsolete, what is not. But we try to understand the dashboards whose use are constantly increasing versus constantly decreasing over time, so that we can identify the rising stars. So we want to improve the dashboards because they are more and more useful for the business. And we want to identify the dashboards that are less and less viewed, less and less useful for our clients, and maybe archive them more proactively, I would say.
Yeah, I think taking that approach of focusing on not just what's being viewed less, but what's being viewed more to improve it is always going to be a great focus. So after the whole project, you mentioned that you had a 25% reduction in total content, that you were able to onboard new users 70 times faster, and as well, individuals who are going to your Tableau server were able to get to any content within 2 clicks and really were able to find things quite quickly. How's all of this received by the stakeholders that you started out talking to?
Actually, very good, very positively. In the sense, I received the congratulations of my lead, my skip lead. And for me, the best compliment I can get is when there are some newcomers in my business unit. They say, oh, wow, the Nutri structure looks very clean, very organized, and they're surprised by how quick they can get access to it, because before it was a bit of a nightmare. And so for me, that's the best feedback I received. And so these are the quantitative results, but we also achieved other qualitative results in the sense that our internal clients ask us less questions about where can I find dashboard XYZ, or are there any existing dashboards on topic ABC. So we can dedicate our time to other meaningful tasks, and that's also a great benefit.
Yeah, and you had the opportunity to come here and talk to us all and teach us as well. So I'm sure the project turned out quite successfully. What were some of the learnings that you'd be able to share with the audience?
Basically, I have 3 pieces of advice to tell you. First, I was a newcomer and I undertook this project. And my first advice is, as a newcomer, never underestimate your gut feeling. For instance, if something is not clear for you, it's probably not clear as well for others. So share your feedback on how you can improve your organization. That's really useful and insightful. Second advice I would say is start small. Start with a quick wins first. In my case, I didn't start by making the whole new structure, the whole new access rights map. I started by archiving the redundant and obsolete dashboards. That's quick to implement and it has already great value. So start small in a big complex project. And finally, this project involved a lot of people, especially my internal clients, and I had expected some reluctance to change because it would change all their habits in consuming KPIs. But actually, there was no reluctance at all. The transition went very smoothly. And I believe it's because all along the project, I was able to communicate a lot and extensively with my clients and my team so that everyone is aligned, anyone can share feedback and be listened to. So I would really say transformation projects like that, for this kind of project, communication is key.
Yeah, I love that. The beginner's mindset, the taking some of those easy wins and then collaborating with your team. So thank you so much, Margot, for sharing that story. And to wrap us up here, getting back to where we started, modern analytics, that scale and agility comes from the ability for your end users to find the content and actually be able to access it and take advantage of it. Each of these fall into their own category. When you have your business assets, you want to have that centralized row-level security. You want to have virtual access, and you want to have certifications as to what data was good and what they should be pulling from. As well, being able to collaborate and discover, having that easier access and better content descriptions is going to help you along the way. And finally, enhancing with Tableau Prep, you can automate and run all your flows to merge, join, and clean your assets. So with that, we have some time for questions if there are any in the audience, but thank you so much for taking the time. Thank you so much for calling in, Margot. I really appreciated being able to work with you. With that, it's what we have for you today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ryan, and thank you also, Catherine, for organizing this talk today.
So congratulations for the success with this project first. And my question would be, did it open the door to use new data you couldn't use before that bring value to the business?
That's a really good question. For this project, I would say it was really about organizing the current content, so the current dashboards, the current data sources. I'm working on projects like importing new data sources or having some value from new data sources, but it was separate from this project, I would say.
All right. Well, with that, thank you so much, and we'll move on to our next sessions.
Thank you so much.